They didn't know that. The balls.
Take it easy.
I'm probably the only one here eating this type of meal.
Radio's best friend. I call him the body count. We came out with no money, no fingers, no toes.
Every time you catch me, Art, I'm eating. I wonder if it's I'm always eating or if you're just always filming. Art, come on.
And this is Jim Stock. And we're...
Valentine, Burns, Casey, Cruz, Harris, Kaplan, McCartney, McKay, Jason, JJ, Lodge, Phillips, Stevens, Ward, and Wright. And don't forget tonight is the big banquet, and moderators this evening are Joel Sopowitz, Mason Nixon, Russ Ritchie, and Gary Ryan. We've got some world exclusives coming up. If you just Chris Ross.
Gee, didn't you just eat breakfast?
It feels that way. I come here to eat.
I guess so.
The food is free.
One of the unemployed.
I don't need any coupons here.
My butt, look.
This is the award-winning disc jockey.
Now it takes great pleasure for me to present to you from Hits Magazine, my long buddy came to my very first convention. Him and his wife drove all the way up from Alabama. Mark St. John. Mark?
Close.
I'm sorry, Mike St. John. That's all I was thinking about. Mark St. John's still in Alabama.
Oh. How soon they forget. You get into the trade business.
No, it's the same station too, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Welcome, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. We're assembled this afternoon to hold an open forum on the state of Top 40 radio, and Bobby has assembled a very distinguished panel of programming experts in our format. We have constructed a panel that covers the spectrum of the format. And we're going to start out by introducing to you from WRVQ, Q94 in Richmond, Lisa McKay. Next to Lisa from Buffalo and KISS Radio, WKSE, Brian Burns. Our next panelist works for Gannett in Dallas and has had a very successful startup of a top 40 format in that market, JJ McKay. Our next panelist has been the quarterback of a highly successful, God, I can't talk. Stay off the air and go into the trade publication, you lose your tongue. Anyway, a highly successful station in Philadelphia that continues to grow, and a very strong-sounding radio station, Mr. Jefferson Ward. And next to Jefferson, the Dean of Programming in Washington, a station that continues to grow and grow and grow, Mr. Jay Stevens. Continuing with our panel on my right, a man that has been through the radio wars and continues to be very successful in Jacksonville, Florida, Jeff McCartney. Next to Jeff on our panel from Dallas, Texas, and a crossover-leaning top 40, and as I said, we have a panel that covers the entire spectrum, Mr. Tom Casey from Jams. Next to Tom is a man that's been through hell the last 60 days, but he made it to our panel. From St. Louis and the Q, here's Cruz from WKBQ. To his right, from my old stomping grounds in Nashville, Tennessee, and Y107, Chris Earl Phillips. And adding to our panel from Raleigh and the Raleigh-Durham area and G105, Mr. Bill Cahill. The M Street Journal recently reported that 5 years ago, over 950 stations in America programmed the Top 40 format. Today, despite the overall number of radio stations growing by 1,800 over the past 5 years, the M Street Journal says the number of Top 40 radio stations has diminished to less than 500. We have several members on the panel that program an urban lean Top 40, including Jefferson and Jay and Tom. And one of the points they brought up is the point of the word racism in our industry, especially in the way that certain radio stations that have ethnic leans are treated by various record companies and various labels regarding product.
What I have seen happen and what we've talked about a number of times, Jay and I have talked about, Tom and I have talked about, is that because our radio station is classified as a top 40 or a CHR, very often we are denied access at all to some of the urban hip-hop artists that we are absolutely instrumental in breaking nationally, and certainly in most cases in Philadelphia. The thing about our radio station is, for those of you who know about it, this is old news, but we take a great deal of pride on the fact that our radio station is very actively involved in the black community, the white community, and the Hispanic community. And our radio station is instrumental in breaking so much music, and yet we are being denied access to the artists time and time again. Now, this doesn't go to all labels. I mean, I have to really give credit to certain labels who have been very supportive of our radio station. It's not a blanket statement, but it is a problem, and it does need to be addressed. It does need to be changed, and I think some steps are being made in that direction. Some of the conversations that I've had with some of these different labels have made some great progress in this area, but it needs to be looked at seriously, because music is music and people are people, and it's the fact that we are different that makes the world cool. And we got to stop thinking about, well, you know, they're a top 40 station, so we can't give them an urban artist.
Many cases, like here in Washington and with Jefferson in Philadelphia, and with Tom in Dallas, we're running over the urban stations. And so they need to stick, you know, the urban departments are trying to stick up for these black radio stations, which isn't wrong necessarily, but because of that, we've got these wars going on where we can't get these acts, or the urban stations get the new music first, or in Jefferson's case, I won't mention the record label, but there's been 2 instances where records were leaked specifically to Power 99 prior to Jefferson getting it for like 3 or 4 days. And the pop department was stonewalled from even getting a copy of it to get to Jefferson, so the urban station could have a 3 or 4 day lead. And you know, that's just got to stop. Now, there are radio stations like Jacksonville that's taken the stance, no rap or hard rock. I think that's a pretty strong statement to make, because much of the music, the hits at any given time, could be something that's rap, or has a rap in it, or maybe has a little bit of perceived rock in it. And by saying that, that means you're saying you're not playing the hits. That's scary to me. Now, obviously, it's working for him. I don't think we would ever take that statement.
The problem is that you make a statement from being in Washington, and I'm in Jacksonville, Florida, and the guys in Indianapolis, and the guys that are in Portland, they have a tendency to be in the same situation I am. The audience is looking, especially the 25-plus female, is not looking for a radio station that plays rap music. Rap music for mainstream top 40. Not what you're doing, but mainstream top 40, what got us here in the first place to the word top 40, rap is death. Absolute death. I've seen it in too many perceptual studies. I've seen it in too many research projects. Now, we say we don't play hard rock. We play Van Halen right now. It's what we describe as hard rock. We don't play Metallica, we don't play Nirvana, but we do not play rap. And since we went on the air and made that statement, our 25+ numbers are up about 200%.
You can't say that the only station that's playing the hits is PGC. On the other hand, you can't say the only station playing the hits is Mix. They're each playing the hits that apply to what they do. And I think there's a few markets left where the approach can be a little broader than that. Hopefully St. Louis is one of those, which is what we're trying to do. But in a lot of cases, you can't. You've got to stake out what territory you want to own and put your flag on it and be the best damn radio station in that territory. And that, I think, is how you win.
I think what is really important for Top 40 radio and what has been killing Top 40 radio in markets across America is you get programmers in there who go in and take the job and they decide that they know the music for the market and they're going to play the hits that they think they should play instead of really playing what the market wants to hear. And when you look at retail and you see what happens there, if you do any sort of active request research, you should be playing the hits for your market regardless of where it is, and you shouldn't go in with any preconceived notion. That's nothing but ego tripping, and that doesn't do any good for your listeners.
I told these guys, let's have a lively panel. I think we're getting there.
You know, these guys don't need to fight. We need to work together. And you know what? You're all right, and that's the thing about it. Brian has points that are good. Jeff's got them. You all have. You know, we've been breaking a lot of acts in Tampa musically that would not get on the radio otherwise. And they're top 40 acts. They're CHR acts. We can't get the product. In fact, 2 weeks ago, I'll give you a prime example. I wanted to play the Proclaimers record. Guess what? Nobody sent it to me. Okay? Nobody sent me that record. I had to call the label and get a copy of it. We had to go out and buy PM Dawn because nobody sent it to me. Okay? Now that's bull. And what's happened here is we've got labels put on our radio stations, and we got to take these labels off of them. We've been labeled by one of the trade magazines. And Joel, I don't know, I saw him back here a second ago. I think he's disappeared now. The heat's on. You know, Joel, I love you to death, but we're going to have to make some changes here in the 90s because we're not the same thing we are. CHR defined darn near everybody on this panel and what music you were playing in the mid-1980s, but in the mid-1990s, it doesn't describe you.
Entertainment being what we do, we better start entertaining again from the bottom up if we're going to keep radio on a local level doing its thing.
And I think one of the best examples of somebody, if you had heard him for the first time, that you'd never thought he would ever make a successful jock, and he's the biggest thing in Washington, D.C., it's Albie D. The man is totally out there, but in a great way, and he's not afraid to be himself on the radio. And the guy's been here for 6 years, going on 7 years, and there's no disputing his success. And I worked with Albie years ago, and I'm going to be honest with you, way back then, I never thought he would ever make it this big. I'm not afraid to say that. But the man is unbelievable because he's not afraid to be himself, and he's totally whacked, but in a good way.
My name's John Landecker. I used to work as an air personality.
John Records Landecker is in the house. John Records Landecker.
And hi, Art. How are you?
God, I grew up listening to this guy.
This will be Volo Air Check 178. I used to work as an air personality for a long time, and I'm in the business now working with Saul Foose and Associates, and we represent air talent. And I wasn't going to make a comment, but since this started turning towards the lack of talent that's out there, which I've heard at every single convention I've been to. I've been in radio for a long time related to it. This is the first year I've ever gone to conventions. And they all say exactly the same thing. Whether it's a talk radio convention or a top 40 CHR urban-leaning mix 97.7 10 in a row convention, they all say exactly the same thing. The consultants get up and say the same thing. The record companies say the same thing. Well, not at a talk convention, but the PDs say the same thing, and the talent says the same thing. I mean, it's the same thing at the country convention I went to a couple of years ago. You can just take the label like somebody was talking about here, of country, or take the formatic label out and stick in any other formatic label, and what comes before it and after it is almost exactly the same thing. I help try to develop radio talent and try to put